Again, rise up. Great opportunity. Love that everybody's been able to come and participate. Obviously, you see some cameras around here. There's going to be a little bit of videotape, but again, we appreciate you showing up. Appreciate you coming. Appreciate you sticking this out. Kind of allowing Rise Up to go beyond the walls of potentially Mako. So what I'd like to do is introduce you to this man. I thought he was getting ready to get a play. Mr. Daniel. I've known Matt for a couple of months now. He actually works at Hope. So I just appreciate him coming out and spending a little bit of quality of time and walking us through his testimony a little bit. So without further ado.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, how we feeling? Good, okay. I like the energy, man. I mean, you get food like that, I'll be hyped up too. I was about to eat, but I'll eat later. What time we go till? You said 3:30? It's all paid too. That's what Clever said. All paid break. Yeah, my name's Matthew. I'm gonna move around a lot. I forgot it's okay if I move?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My name's Matthew Daniels. I'm a pastor over at Hope Community. I have an incredible family, super sweet. My wife's name is Jaylene. We just celebrated 3 years of marriage. 3 years, not a long time, but it's a blessing for sure to be with her. She's way cooler than me. If you met her, you soon realize that. She's been playing for the Courage, professional soccer for the last 7 years. Been killing it. We have a sweet daughter named Zoe. It's the best thing. I love being a dad. She's 18 months old, and it's just so fun. How many of y'all have kids? How many of your kids are older than 18 months? Pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I met the grandkids. Man, it's so sweet. I love being a dad. We love being parents. We're gonna spend the next 3 weeks together. I'm excited. The theme, I kind of, it's Valentine's Day. It's an old movie, but the theme for the series is called A Walk to Remember. How many of y'all ever seen that movie? It's like old school. Yeah, it's not. I actually have never seen it. My wife has told me all about it. I think it's a Nicholas Sparks, little Nicholas Sparks. See, look, we got a fan in the building. Basically, what happens is, from what I could tell from the trailer, and my wife, basically, it's a girl. She's like really cool. She has no shame. She's just her own self. She meets this dude who's really like the cool kid, and they like hit it off. I think he gets in trouble. They go to this place, and he really likes her, but he's too cool to kind of acknowledge her in front of his friends. And then, like through a series of events, I think she, and you can correct me if I'm getting this wrong. Through a series of events, she ends up getting cancer. They're like falling in love, and you just start to see this whole thing unfold of just this love that starts to develop on their walk. And when I think about walking, it pertains to all of us. All of us, how we get here. We walked up the stairs, walked down the stairs. We got out the car. We walked into work. We're gonna get home. We're gonna walk. Walking affects all of us, and more than just physical walking. When we're walking somewhere, it matters where we're walking, what we're walking with. I could have a lot of stuff. I might slow down. It matters where you're walking to, where you're going, the direction. Sometimes, so I don't know if this is you in the building. We walk really slow. Do y'all have anybody in your life that just walks like really slow? Yeah. It's hard. So I'm not a speed walker. There's some people like you park the car and they're already at the entrance of the mall and you're just like getting outdoor. But there's some people you're kind of like, all right, man, like I'm trying to get there, like it's taking their time, they're loving life. We're all different. We're all different in the way that we walk. We're all different in the way that we walk places. And so I want to spend like the next 3 weeks talking about 3 areas personally in my walk, in my journey, that have been transformational. The first week, we're going to talk today about walking without shame. Okay. Next week, February 15th, one day after Valentine's Day, we're going to talk about walking in relationships. And this is not like a guru on how to do relationships, but we're going to talk about what it means to walk in community. And then the last week, we're going to talk about walking without worry. So these are 3 areas personally that have been on my journey that the Lord has helped me to walk in. I'm still learning in, but I pray and just hope that as our time together, that the way that we walk out of here, not even just physically, but in our hearts and our minds, it would be a little bit lighter. There might be more peace. There might be more joy. There might be more understanding. And so today we're going to talk about shame. Okay. It's like, dang, this brother's diving in deep. I'm just trying to enjoy lunch. We're talking about shame at lunch today. It's funny. A survey done by me, 100% of the people that I ask, have you ever experienced shame? 100% of the people I've asked say, yep. To confirm that right before I left over, I asked a group of people at the church. They're all like, yeah, I mean, this morning walking into work, there's a pastor at a church. What I'm saying is that shame affects us all. Brene Brown, if you never heard of her, she's incredible. She's done a whole thing on shame. This is how she defines shame. Listen to these words. The intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Something we've experienced, done, or felt to do that makes us unworthy of connection. There's this woman in the Bible, John chapter 4. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to flip there. If you've been in the church at all, you probably know the phrase "a woman at the well." Are you anybody familiar with that? If you're not familiar, it's fine. There's this woman in John chapter 4 in the New Testament. It's the book of John, and it talks about this woman at the well. The whole story is called that because Jesus one day he's walking and they're going to Galilee, and Jesus is like, "Yo, we actually got to go through Samaria." You're like, "What is Samaria?" Samaria back then, for a Jew to walk through Samaria, they didn't do it because Jews and Samaritans, there was a lot of beef. It was like the neighborhood that you probably don't want to be in. It was like we don't need to go through there. But Jesus one day is like, actually, we got to go through Samaria. We got to go through Samaria. And probably the disciples like, "Oh, you sure? Like, check the Google Maps again. Like, we don't have to go through there." Like, but Jesus like, "No, we have to go through there." And why I believe that they had to go through there is because Jesus encounters this woman at the well. And why I want to bring attention to her when it comes to shame is that a lot of scholars would say that some things that are based on the text would say this is a woman who wrestled with shame. Verse 6, if you want to go back and read the story, you should. It's an incredible story. But verse 6 of John chapter 4, it says this. Jesus, tired from the long walk, sat wearily beside Jacob's well about noontime. Time matters. Soon a Samaritan woman came to draw water. She was by herself. We don't know her name, but there's some clues that the scholars say we can assume she walked with shame. First clue, she was drawing water at noontime. Okay, why does that matter? It's like, yo, I want to drink a water at noontime. Back then in that culture, most people went and got water in the morning or late at night. Like noontime was like super hot. It's that time of the day that's like somebody has to go on a walk. You're like, "No, brother, it's 90 degrees in North Carolina in July. I'm not going on a walk." And it was the time that nobody wanted to go get water. They wanted to go in the morning or at night. And so some scholars are like, why was she drawing water at noontime? Another thing is that she came alone. Okay, why does this matter? Back then, the well was like the mall, okay, for women. Women in the morning and at night, they'd go as a group, and it'd be like the time where they caught up. They just like, "Hey, what's up? Oh, you saw? Oh my God, we trying to grow that barley, whatever they're talking back then. Yeah, that wheat's low. I don't know what they were talking about back then, but that was the social time for women to kind of come together. They go to the well, they get what they needed, but it was social. And so the second thing about that is that she was alone, not just at a normal time, but an unusual hour. And so kind of throughout this text, you can kind of see, man, maybe she was wrestling with shame because Jesus, he kind of calls her out on some stuff. She's like sitting there doing her thing, and he's like, "Ma'am, you've had 5 husbands, and the woman you're living with is that's not your husband either." And she's like, "What? How do you know that? What you been? Where you been? How do you know I?" But Jesus starts to call her on some things that maybe some of this shame, that maybe there was this isolation in this woman for the things that she had done. There was this alienation. There was this shame that she kind of felt. So you can imagine this woman. Just imagine. I mean, I'm not saying you've had 5 husbands and the guy you live, it could be true, but all of us have had these moments in our life where we feel alienated, maybe choices we've made, maybe things that have been done to us. And can you imagine what her walk was like every day to this well? Alone, nobody to talk to. She's walking, she must be thinking, "Man, why I go through this every day? Man, nobody really care." I can't imagine what her dialogue, I'm reading into it, but I'm just trying to think if I was in her shoes, what that must have felt like. And the truth is, shame is not a new thing. Shame was like in the first 3 books, first 3 chapters of the Bible. You go to Genesis, if you're not familiar with the Bible, there was Adam and Eve, there was creation. They were naked and unashamed, okay? And they were eating food, eating food, naming animals. I mean, it must have been nice, naked, unashamed. They did that. Ah, yeah, oh man, that's a dog. I don't know what that was like, but I'm sure there was some harmony, there was some peace, there was joy, there was something sweet that was happening. And then God, he's like, all right, y'all can enjoy everything in the whole garden. You can enjoy it all. Eat over there, drink over there, whatever you want. Just don't touch the one tree. And y'all know, you have kids, even yourself, when somebody tells you not to do something, you're like, they don't do it. So Adam and Eve, the disobedience, they didn't trust the Lord. They thought maybe there was something missing. Spoiler alert, they ate from the tree. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 7, it says, immediately after they ate the fruit, guess what happened? They felt shame. Immediately after they walked into that disobedience, they realized like, oh shoot, like it'd probably be like now. I mean, actually, I'm not going to give the illustration, but it'd be a weird thing if in the moment you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like what? And it says they try to cover themselves because immediately felt shame. Their eyes were open and they realized like something's wrong. And so kind of throughout humanity, written since the beginning of creation, there is this theme of shame. And the thing is that it's seeped through our society. It's seeped in each one of our lives. All of us, if I went around this room and I talked about how maybe shame has pervaded in your heart, in your mind, growing up in a childhood, whatever it is, I know shame has seeped its way into all of our lives. So what's the answer? What is the solution? How do we find freedom in the midst of any shame that we feel in this moment or have felt? Well, the beautiful thing about God is that if you keep reading after Genesis, he throws down some things like, yo, women, you're gonna have pain in childbirth. I know the women in here can relate. God bless y'all, seriously. Men, you're gonna be working hard. It's gonna be hard to work, earn it. He goes through these, but at the end of it, it says that God clothed them. That even in the midst of their disobedience, even in the midst of their shame, they had tried to sew together little fig leaves. I don't know what fig leaves look like, but I just imagine like they had this little like doing, and he clothed them with animal skins. What does he do with the woman at the well who was met with shame? He met her there and he starts talking to her. He says, I know you're coming to this well every day. I know it's empty. I know you're lonely. I know you're battling with this shame, and you're coming here trying to fill this physical thing, but let me offer you something better. Let me offer you a new way of life. Let me offer you a new purpose. And Jesus met her there in that spot. So that's the beautiful thing, is that Jesus meets us right where we are today, thankfully. Like Jesus doesn't call us to clean ourselves up. The gospel doesn't say, all right, like, man, if you want to come to Jesus, like you got to clean yourself up first. Like deal with that reason you're feeling shame. Deal with that. What he doesn't, he says, just come as you are. And that's the beautiful thing about God in the midst of our shame, is that he meets us right where we are. And I love that about God, is that we don't have to try to clean ourselves up. Like, I don't know if I just had this, I have this picture like of, say, me and Clever, we're hanging out one day, like he's at my house. He's like, yeah, brother, I hit the gym this morning, cut the grass, been pulling weeds. You pull if I take a shower? Yeah, man, get the shower. You stinking, man. And then right before he gets in the shower, I see Clever like in my kitchen, and he's got like a paper towel, and he's trying to like clean off. You're like, brother, get in the shower. That's the point of you getting in the shower. You don't have to try to clean off a little paper towel. Just get in the shower. But I think sometimes we come to Jesus and we come to, in our religious circles or our minds and our hearts, that we have to try to clean up before, oh man, if I get into this relationship, or if I really give my life to Jesus, or if I can really live this life shame-free, I have to do all the work to clean myself up. And God just says, man, just come to me as you are. Come to me right now as you are. It's the point of the gospel. Well, what do we try to do with our shame? Try to cover, try to hide our shame. Shame causes us to hide behind this facade of work, status, education, a relationship, accomplishment, conversations where you're not really getting to the real core of what's really going on, lies. There's facades, all of us, me included. We have these masks that we wear. Oh yeah, man, how you doing? I'm good, brother. I'm blessed. I am blessed. But inside, you're lonely. Inside, you're broken. Inside, if you're like, man, if you really knew me, I don't know if you love me. We all wrestle with that. So what do we try to do with it? And the crazy thing is that we are all masters of doing this, because we have this society that paints this performance-based love. I mean, you work in a company, if you don't perform, and Clever might have grace on you, but if you don't perform, at some point they're gonna be like, "Hey, brother, we need to talk. We got to talk. You're not living up." And we think sometimes our relationships, our walk with God, the way that we're supposed to walk is this performance. So I got to put on this mask, because if somebody knew, what would they really think? And I want to share a little bit about my story, because ingrained through all of my story was this shame that I learned to kind of just hold and grasp. So my real dad was in prison most of my life. My mom was married 6 times. So we kind of grew up in just this crazy environment of abuse. Any kind of abuse, you name it, sexual, physical, emotional. I have 2 older brothers. We went through that. And so growing up, man, I was just like, I didn't understand what was happening to us. I thought, hey, man, maybe this is what most kids experience. Maybe this is normal life. But I found out come middle school, I realized I was lost. I was hopeless. I had no idea where to turn. I didn't know what to do. And by the time I was in middle school, I was like, man, if I can just get me a good looking girl, I think that'd be the answer for me. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking. In middle school, I was like 5'2", 160. I was a left tackle on the offensive line, a little fridge. That's what they call me. Little tugboat. And but I was like, man, if I just get me a girl, man, I'd be all right. And I ended up getting a girl. It didn't last. It didn't work out. But high school comes around. I'm like, sports, maybe if I get a lot of money. And I started getting into this cycle of trying to find substitutionary things to deal with the shame and the emptiness that I felt from the childhood that I grew up in. I spent my whole life saying, I'm not going to end up like my dad. My dad was in prison for drugs, for doing all these things. I said, I'm never going to go down that path. And 17 years old, I started down the same path that my dad was on. Thought I was a little gangster. I'll show you a picture later. I used to carry around a pistol with me, just think I was so hard. I used to sell drugs. And then I got into drugs, started doing all the things that I never thought I was doing. 19 years old, my ex-girlfriend gets pregnant. Okay. She was 17, I was 19. And growing up, like, we kind of had a concept of what was right, what was wrong. I did a lot of wrong, but I knew abortion was wrong. I was like, man, I knew, like, that was one thing. I was like, I knew abortion was wrong. But fast forward 3 months of her being pregnant, we're like, what are we gonna do? And we ended up deciding we were gonna have an abortion. I was 19 years old. This is in Seattle. I was at Planned Parenthood, as close as this is to me right here. I was watching this whole procedure happen. And you talk about shame, you talk about darkness, you talk about depression that came in that moment. I don't know if there was a darker point in my life, and that started this deep spiral. I was already spiraling, but this started this deep spiral. 6 months later, I'm homeless, strung out on drugs. I don't got $1 to my name. I'm just, any money I get is going towards drugs, because I'm trying to medicate this emptiness and this brokenness inside. 20 years old, I tried to take my life. 2009. And I got a question for you. Have you ever felt hopeless, broken, lost? Have you ever been moving really fast in life but felt like you weren't really going anywhere? Well, let me be the first to admit that I have. And this is my story, twisted into rhymes dedicated to help push you forward for his glory. See, I was part of that socially accepted norm, where our culture seems to be okay with the fact that tonight, 1 out of every 2 children will go to bed without their father in the home. It's an epidemic far, far. See, my father was behind the prison bar, let's face it. We didn't get that affirmation, so we spent our whole lives trying to become the star. And I lived that life. It left me cold-hearted, overdose. Man, I was halfway gone. I spit on you, pushed you away, built my own throne, worshiping the girls, money, and drugs, because culture had ingrained in me if I had all those, and I would be grown. That left me stranded for dead on the side of the road all alone. And I doubted if God was even there, and if he was there, did he even care? My actions screamed for help. I needed saving. But it was like no one was near. It was like no one could hear. Then on that night of August 10th, 2009, I heard a man say that God had a plan for me, that all my sin was paid for, the complete redemption fee. My brokenness was met with love, joy, and peace. And for the first time, this blind man could see. This mouth went from cursing to praising. My hands I was raising. Surrendering all, I began to desire different things. All I could seem to sing was amazing grace. How sweet the sound. Drop the old me, crucifix, Jeremiah 18:6. And by his spirit he enlightened my heart. Gave me a new start, so call me Morgan. I'm a free man. But it doesn't end there. I needed a game plan because the God I serve is in the business of turning boys to men. So I had to tell my flesh, we've come to the end of the road. Boys to men. Stop writing my own story. Gave him back the pen. So let it resound. This is the sound of freedom. I was bound along a chain. I'm found. Orphan son. I had to let his love make an incision. Open heart surgery on the operating table. I was weak. I had no blood pumping, but you came. You made me stable. Cardiac arrest. You gave your best. Dead to life. Your cross like the knife, taking out the unclean things. Now this heart has a reason to joyfully sing. Listen, we all have sin. Acknowledge it. It can't be killed with a knife or a gun. It's only through the sacrifice of the Son. He's the one and he's the only one. And Satan might have been a sneaky little snake in that garden, but my God is a beast. He moves my sin as far as the west is from the east. So this truth I'm no longer repressing. I'm professing. I'm all about that blood like I hit an artery. Satan, you got no part of me. To you, Lord, I bow my knee. Listen, God is hiring, and perfection isn't one of his qualifications. See, he turned a stutter into a public speaker, a shepherd boy to a king, a murderer into a minister, and fishermen and tax collectors into his disciples. See, God, he doesn't necessarily need your expertise. He just wants a heart that's willing to follow his lead. God's beautiful beyond description, too marvelous for words, too wonderful for comprehension, like nothing ever seen or heard. And even when I went running on you, you came running for me. So I stand in awe of you, giving you my life. That's the reasonable thing I can do. Father, I love you. Praise. And that's what happened. After I tried to take my life, I overdosed, woke up, and there was this dude with a year up to this point in my life. It was a miracle. Overdosed on pills, drank a fifth in an hour. And that moment of my life, it was like all the shame, all the things I had been running from, all the things I was hiding behind. I got to that place where it's like, something's got to give, something's got to change, something. I need a. Some of us in this room might even be at that place. I'm not saying it's going to be as extreme as that. You don't have to try to kill yourself to be at a place of despair. All of us wrestle with this. And so this dude used to always tell me about Jesus. His name was Reuben. I thought he was the most annoying dude. Like, he'd be like, bro, like there's this story in the Bible. The sea split open and they walked through it. And like he would like tell me this. And I was homeless at the time. And he would always buy me food. So I'm like, hey, yeah, I'll take the food. And I'm like, Reuben, bro, like, but that's annoying. Man. Like, stop. And crazy enough, he did this a year up to that point in my life. That morning after overdose, I called Reuben. I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go, but maybe you got something, man, that I don't got. I don't know if I thought he had like a girl or something. I was like, can you just help me? He said, man, you should come to the summer camp our church is going to do. I was like, is there going to be girls there? He's like, oh, bro, there's going to be so many girls. And I show up at this camp, August 10, 2009, and I heard about this man named Jesus that could take away the shame, that could take away the pain, that could freely forgive me. I thought I was so messed up. I thought, man, nobody could really actually love me. They saw all the things I did. If they saw the resume of my life, I had nothing that was like, yo, this is, dang it. Jesus, beautiful as he is, don't matter if you're rich or poor. Doesn't matter what you come. At the foot of the cross, we all come empty-handed. That's the beautiful thing. I heard about this man, Jesus. It changed my life. Ran to the front. I don't even know what prayer I said, man. I just said some prayer. I started asking forgiveness. God didn't even tell us to do this. I ran to the front. I started like, Lord, please forgive me. That girl like this, great. You know, I'm just like, I was so overcome of like, there is this weight that I feel, and I have to give it to somebody that can carry it because I can't. And my good news to you today is that you can walk without shame. You can walk without this feeling of unworthiness. And part of dethroning the activity of shame in your life is just being you. The authentic you, not the fake you, not the mask you, but when you start to be real, you start to heal. God can't heal a fake version of us, but when we come authentically as ourselves, this is me. Yeah, I'm jacked up. Got some things I'm working on. I got some messed up things that happened to me as a kid. This relationship, man, it really messed me up. Or it could be choices you've done. But Jesus invites us into this relationship where you don't have to really cover up who you are to receive his blessing. You can come as you are. You get to take off the old and put on the new as you turn to him for new life. I remember my first car, and it's 12:30 is the cutoff time, right? So yeah, that is. Yeah, okay. So I'm there. The voice of shame will tell us that our sin or the sins of others that are done to us, that we are that. But we must reorient our self-perception around the identity given to us in Jesus. We must consider the voice of shame with the gospel that we are whole, new, loved, forgiven, and adopted, and that the Bible tells us if you are in Christ, nothing can separate you from his love. And that news should free your heart today. You can walk free without shame. You can walk free with your head held high, not because you got it all together, not because you got it figured out, but because Jesus saw you for the foundations of the world and say, you know what? I'm going to die for you. I'll stand in the place of shame. I'll take shame on me. I'll take the full rap so that you can be what you couldn't be. And so let me just pray. I know we gotta close up here. But if you're feeling that way today, I'm gonna be here. I know y'all gonna go back to work, but I'd love to pray with you personally. If you're like, man, something you said, just know I'll be here. That if you'd like to chat. Clever did say he paid for that. It's off the time. Father, we thank you for your grace. Thank you for just who you are. It's easy sometimes, even in spaces like this. We're going to go back to performing, back to our job, which is good. We want to perform well. We want to be good at what we do, but not at the cost, Lord, of what's going on inside us. We want to be healthy. We want to be whole. We want to be forgiven. We want to walk in newness of life. And I know that only happens through you, Father. So I pray in the sound of my voice, every person, every heart, every mind, Father, that's just feeling way down. Could be things that have done to them, things of situations they're in now, or even just the general sense of, do I even matter? Am I worthy? Am I valuable? Lord, speak to them right now, Father. It doesn't matter what I say, but by your Spirit, you can open hearts, you can open eyes, you can pour your love that you freely give right now in this moment, Father. The same way that you continually pour your love, God, would you just pour out your love right now. Help us to see Jesus. And as we see Jesus, may we strip off the old things, the shame, the despair, the hopelessness, the feelings of I'm not good enough. Lord, may we take on the new nature that we have in you, love, accepted, forgiven, whole. Nothing can separate us from your love. And we're in you. So we thank you for that truth. In his name, everybody said, amen. Praise.
And Matt will talk about walking in relationships. So thanks for coming out. Hope to see you guys next week. Hopefully we could hear better. I know we had some mic issues for the people virtually, so hopefully we got that fixed. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You got to sweat.
Good jacket, bro. I hate the jacket. It ain't the jacket.
But it went like, it used to be like cold, and then now it's the inverse of it.
Almost. Oh, God, I always do something. Man. Yeah.